Welcome back to Addicts in Recovery. We are down a person. Zach is in England and he's learning something about business, hopefully.
Yep. So now it's just Kevin and Mike today.
And we're happy to, if you're listening, welcome back. And we're excited to chat. We finally figured out this recording, and hopefully it sounds good.
Yeah. Zach is greatly missed, but he should be back with us like in an episode or two.
Yeah, or he might add on to this, but this week we kind of wanted to talk about, just kind of catch up a little bit, kind of see how we were doing. We had some past recordings that we did that we had kind of stockpiled with this transition of Zach leaving and how we're going to be able to kind of blend him and us. And, it's kind of weird. He's waking up as we're going to bed right now.
Yeah, and I want to see how he's doing in the UK.
Yeah, and seeing his stories of what's going on with the, recovery-based things or stories that he's got, or, it's good to catch up. So hopefully this might be just a little pen pal podcast of recovery. Who knows? Who knows where it's going to go?
But yeah, he said he found some good recovery places in London.
That's good.
Yeah.
Yeah, well, you're miss, Zach. But yeah, this week we kind of wanted to, like I said, we want to catch up a little bit on us and kind of how we're doing and what we're up to, and kind of create a dialogue on some coping mechanisms. Is what's worked, what hasn't worked with us, and that's kind of the goal, I guess.
Yeah.
So some good news. Some good news. Usually all the crap you hear in the news is not good these days, but I just hit number 400 days of no drinking.
I know. That's so awesome. I was really happy when you told me that. It made my day.
So it's been weird though. Like, it's been easier at times, but at times it's like, sometimes I get these questions. I'm like, is it worth it? Am I doing the right thing? But then, like, everything that follows behind me is, like, so good. It's like, well, yeah.
Yeah. I still have those days, too.
Yeah.
Where I just kind of think, like, what am I doing? Is this worth it? But you know what's really strange is sometimes I'll go to a meeting or something and I'll be listening to other people and I think, what the hell was I thinking when I was thinking, wow, is this worth it? Like, it's so easy to forget how it was. That's the nature of the way we think. It's so easy to forget. Like, I know it's not everybody's story, but I was like, I remember like peeing the bed all the time. You know what I mean? How could I forget that?
Yeah.
Like, how could I even ever think that, I went on a relapse and that was like, it's been a while. But I literally remember, oh my God, like, I don't want to like piss myself.
Right.
I remember this one guy, and he used to come to meetings a lot. And he always said, he always announced himself, I'm, my name is blah, blah, blah. I'm an alcoholic and I haven't pissed myself in 5 years. That's how he would announce how much time he had. I haven't peed myself in 5 years. Yeah, I always thought it was really funny, but like, how could we forget?
Oh, I mean, I spoke at a AA meeting a month ago. I was the guest speaker, and I kind of talked a little bit about that, of like some of the crap that I did, but not to like glorify it, but also to explain like why I did it at times. My dad was at the meeting, and he's always been like a big naysayer of where I told him at the very beginning when I was drinking, it was like an actual helping me. Like I used it to help me, and he doesn't believe that. Still to this day, he doesn't believe that.
What do you mean you used it to help you? Like,
well,
and what about that does he not buy?
His perception of addiction is so different than mind. He doesn't think of like overeating or an overspender or someone like that. He doesn't categorize that as like as an actual addict of anything. And then he's like, I have a hard time relating to what addiction really is. And I'm like, well, addiction can be anything. You can be addicted to that. I mean, but our society, obviously, they kind of categorize it. I would think that society, they would look at an alcoholic versus someone who's obese very differently.
Right. Uh-huh.
Where they're like, oh, that guy's fat. He must have an eating problem, but it's not like the alcoholic, that I don't know.
Right.
So with me, the drinking part of it helped at the beginning, where it helped me like cope, and I felt like it was helping me get places. I would get stressed out, I would drink, and then it would relieve the stress, to the point where it did the opposite.
Right.
And that's when it didn't help me anymore.
Right.
And it's such a hard thing where I was like explaining it to my dad, and he was like, yeah, I don't get it. I still don't get it, I'm just like,
right.
Well, not that he needs to, but it's a hard thing for people, I guess, to grasp. But
you know what I forget also is being a slave to it. Like needing to drink, like literally the physical need, that craving, I guess you would say,
right,
that uncontrollable craving. I remember this one time a friend of mine was at the house, and of course I was drunk out of my mind, because that's the way I lived. And he was like saying, well, what's it like? Why do you drink all the time? And I'm like, because I have to. I don't know. And he's like, what's it like? And I said, it's like being thirsty, like terribly, terribly thirsty all the time. I was just trying to explain it to him. And that's actually even before I knew what alcoholism was. I needed it, like almost like, I've heard it be equated to your body literally feels like it needs oxygen.
Right.
If you tell somebody not to breathe, they would think that you were out of your mind. But that's exactly what it's like. It's like someone saying, just don't breathe.
Right, but it's like kind of what I was saying earlier of it helping. It's like I remember just like having one beer and what that one beer would do to me. It'd be like,
oh sure,
just level me off, but that time became shorter. Whereas like that one beer only lasted a couple minutes. Yeah. Maybe 10 minutes. I was like, okay, another one. And it just became like shorter. And like, if you really look at it now, now I'm kind of talking about like on the obese side. Imagine if you relate that same type of behavior to, like, say you go to McDonald's and pound 30 nuggets every like 20 minutes.
Right. It literally is the same thing, right?
It is. That's why if like he can, or like the spender, say the person is like addicted to shopping, and like that's like fulfills that happiness, and they're constantly doing it, and the debt doesn't matter, but they just keep doing it.
Right.
It's just like the concept of addiction, I guess, in the last year of me being sober, like it's nuts of how I can take alcoholism and every thing that I'm noticing in my life, good or bad, I can see using that alcoholism as a tool for that.
Oh, sure.
And it's really weird. Like if I would never ever think that. Like I can relate, like stress. I feel stress. I'm like, I feel anxiety. I feel like, and I just take those same coping mechanisms I've learned through not drinking and being able to address those problems as they happen. It's been so different.
I think that's called personal growth.
Yeah.
And it's great. It's
not just masking your shit behind, drinking.
No, sober becomes like a kind of a habit of its own. Don't you agree? We were talking earlier about how like priorities kind of change and shift over time over being sober.
Right.
That feeling of loss of an old lifestyle starts to kind of slip away as a new lifestyle kind of fits in.
Right.
Yeah. You were telling me about like, um, not being able to do the old things that you used to enjoy or whatever, and now you're finding that it's fine because you're finding other things to enjoy.
Yeah. I think you just kind of, well, at least I've just been kind of letting go of that, because my wife and I, we were actually having dinner one night on a date, and she just kind of asked me if I miss any aspect of it, and I was like, well, yeah. I mean, like, there's parts of it where it was like way back when, the last time I did drink, that time frame. No, I don't wish that upon anybody. The nightmare that it created for me, but the good side of it, of being able to, kick back with your buddies and or just relax around a campfire or something like that, like that I do miss, but I ruined that part of myself so long ago that I don't really remember it all that well.
Right.
And I think my brain is switched over to that other part where it's like, you couldn't do that again. And now that I'm actually like retraining my brain, and I tell a lot of people this, and I've in our on our Instagram page I've talked about it too, is that that trail analogy with our brains. Because I had a hard time trying to figure out, like, I wanted to stop, and I wanted to be like healed and enjoy myself again and go do what I wanted to go do and enjoy it. And I remember my therapist, and like I said on the Instagram page, you follow us, a trail doesn't just suddenly appear.
Right.
It takes some work and a lot of time back and forth on it, and to switch and start another trail and go a different direction, it's not like it just comes so quickly and easily.
Right.
And our society is so screwed up, in my opinion, where everybody just they look at everything and all this non-happiness or fake happiness stuff and lifestyles, and they think it's just, I want that, and it takes a lot of time, and I'm still learning. I don't feel like I'm healed. I don't think I'll ever really 100% be healed, but it feels great to like actually know that I have taken that other road.
Right.
Where real shit happens to me with work or home or life, anything, and I can take it one step at a time and think, okay, what am I going to do with this? And being able to, as I accomplish that and I do good with that, it feels awesome knowing that I just put another foot in that trail and smashed down those weeds and continued on. It's hard though.
Yeah, I was telling you, but like a couple weeks ago, I went to this bluegrass festival, and of course, like all kind of concert things. Well, not all of them, but the ones that I go to. I mean, there's a lot of drugs and alcohol around.
Oh yeah.
And it was a 3-day festival, super fun. Great bluegrass music. I took my banjo. I bought a banjo. Did I tell you that?
No, that's cool.
I did.
That's rad.
Like 3 weeks ago, I went and purchased a banjo. I'm like, I never thought I would pick up an instrument.
Yeah.
I never played a stringed instrument in my life. I thought it was going to be super easy because I'm always at those festivals and I always like watch the banjo player.
You watch their hands, you're like, oh, I can do that easily.
Yeah. I'm going to pick it up and it'll be fantastic immediately. And then I went and bought one and I took it home and of course it's like doink, doink. I'm like, oh, this is going to take some work, but it's super rewarding. Anyway, I was up there with a bunch of friends and And of course, a lot of them still use,
Mm-hmm.
and most of them aren't addicts, and so it doesn't really make any difference. But we were just sitting around, and they were asking, like, wouldn't you rather be drunk, that kind of thing, like, wouldn't you rather drink? And 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 before they even ask that, there is those moments where you think, oh, I wish I could like have a beer and like sort of like
Right.
loosen up and kind of relax and get into the conversation a little smoother, I guess. But those thoughts, like they're less loud and they're less convincing.
Mm-hmm.
And anyway, they just asked, wouldn't you rather be drinking or whatever? And then when I thought about it, I was just thinking, well, I mean, not really.
Mm-hmm.
I don't. It almost felt like I didn't want to degrade the time that I was having. Like that's what it would do. It would just degrade my experience of what I wanted to be experiencing,
Mm-hmm.
which was exactly whatever was happening in the here and now while being sober. You know, so it was easy for me to say no. Like, no thanks, that's cool.
Right.
It was super easy. And uh, once or twice, I was staying in a tent. I pitched a little tent in the campground, and I would just go and hang out and strum on my banjo. And it was awesome, I have to say.
Uh-huh.
I didn't feel like I needed to sit down and have a beer or smoke weed or whatever.
Yeah.
It's funny. I still enjoy the smell of it,
Mm-hmm.
and I don't even mind being around people like that are using, as long as it's not belligerent and
Right.
overly raucous. But I still appreciate the fact that they're having fun.
Yeah.
And I kind of like feeling that feeling of uh, being responsible, like. I know when to go to bed, and I know when to start making dinner, and I know, you know what I mean?
Like being an adult.
Yeah, being an adult, who knew it could be an enjoyable experience, So, and one of them asked me, uh, they were offering me drugs,
Mm-hmm.
and it was some people I didn't know super well, and they didn't know me, and I just told them, I said, oh no, what did I say? I said, I'm on a chemical sabbatical for an indefinite period of time, which worked really well. They were like, "Oh, cool, man."
Like whatever works.
Yeah, it's just like saying I'm on a cleanse.
Yeah.
I didn't have to say, "Oh, I'm an addict," and I go to AA or CDA. I didn't have to go into anything like that. I just said, "Oh, I'm not using that right now."
Yeah.
So,
Well, I think it's cool that when people can, respect it, they do them, you do you.
yeah.
And I've been really trying to learn. That's like the number one word I can like say the last year has been the word just learning
Mm-hmm.
of myself and why I do what I do, and being able to slow it down and be kind of in that mindful mindset.
Mm-hmm.
And it's super hard to do. And obviously that's a lot of the reasons why I was drinking, because I wasn't very happy with myself. I wanted to go do stuff. I wanted to be a different person. I had high expectations for myself, and I was just masking that with alcohol.
Mm-hmm.
And it feels really like liberating now to be able to like really slow it down, because I have little kids, and I think that has been a huge struggle for me, of like being able to slow it down and try to learn something from them, through their eyes, through their lens. And something that I've struggled with for since I've had kids. It's not easy to be able to like have that patience.
Right.
And we get so impatient about things. I know that when I was in my drunken state of mind of being a young father, I remember like at night one of our children would be crying, and I would kind of like nudge my wife and I kind of have in the back of my head, like, that's her duty, you know.
Right.
She needs to get up with the baby. And for me now, it's so different, where I try to, sometimes I still have that same mindset of like, we have these roles that we need to do, but now I'm trying to learn from those. Like, my child woke up the other night and I thought, you know, I gotta go to work in the morning, but you know what, the baby's crying, walk in there, change his diaper, and I just like held him for a little while.
Right.
And I thought to myself, I became like super happy. I was like, man, this is different. What can I gain from this experience? I'm never gonna have this moment again, like right now. And it made me kind of feel bad, because I thought, for a minute it made me feel bad, but then it made me feel positive, because I'm not trying to like live in the past, but it made me think of how many missed opportunities I did have with learning something, because I was, you know, my mind wasn't there. But like I said, I can't dwell on that. You know, it's just a depressing thought to do that. And us humans are very good at beating each other up in that way. But I really have been trying to do that, and it's been really hard. But I'm happy when I take that moment, like when you know, holding the baby and I put him back down the bed, and because that doesn't happen every single night, but I'm happy it happened, you know?
Yeah. You know, I've been kind of concentrating on, like, recently, is not repeating mistakes. I have this, well, and it's good, because I can recognize when I'm repeating a mistake that I made in the past. I think that's what they mean by, you know, we don't want to close the doors on the past. I really think it's taken me a while to learn some of this stuff, you know, like longer than I want to say. But there's this thought, or this moment that's always bugged me about a long time ago. I was using, of course, Very Heavy, and we ended up getting these 3 kids. It was from a family member that had passed away, and the 3 kids ended up coming to us for us to raise. And one of them was a little girl, and she was probably about 8 or 9 when she came to us. And we were living in Louisiana at the time. There was a bayou that ran through the backyard, like really just right out the back door. There was like a small lawn and then a bayou. And we used to fish for alligators and stuff, like right off the back lawn. And I remember this scene where this girl, she's young. Her mother had just passed away, and she had moved in with us. And so I, she was uncomfortable and unsure about, what was happening, whatever. And so one day I just sat out a couple of chairs, and we decided to go fishing in the bayou, spend some time together, and kind of get to know each other or whatever. And I remember I said, we were using marshmallows to catch alligators. That's how you do it. Anyway, so I said, we need more marshmallows, because we kept losing them. And I said, I'm going to run in the house and grab some. And I went in the house, and while I was in there, I opened the fridge, and of course there's like a 30-pack in there. Mm-hmm. And I thought, oh God, like don't screw this up. Don't drink a beer. Just get back out there, because she's sitting out there, and I could see her through the kitchen window, sitting back there, waiting for me to come back. But of course, I cracked open a beer, mm-hmm. and then I cracked open another beer, and then I cracked open another beer, and I just kept thinking, like I can probably pound 8 of these before I have to go back out there. But of course, I never made it back out there. and I could see her like sitting there alone, and like she kept kind of turning around and looking, like waiting for me to get back out there, but I was stuck, you know. That was a point in my life where I couldn't stop drinking until I was
To your point.
on the floor.
Yeah.
You know.
Right.
And I've always regretted that. It's always been a regret of mine. I remember she finally put down her fishing pole, and she kept turning around and looking, expecting me to come back out the door. And I remember feeling terrible about it. I felt terrible about it, but like the alcohol had total control over me at that point. And she came walking in the house, and of course I was pretty much too drunk to go back outside and fish at all, you know. And I just my day was over, and it was like 10 a.m. you know, and but anyway, I it's always bothered me, you know, and I've actually talked to her about that, and I've given my apologies and made my amends, and she only vaguely remembered it, but that scene was heartbreaking for me.
Yeah.
And I was the star, you know. And anyway, the other day, one of my grandkids came out to visit, who is now one of the children of those kids.
Okay.
Yeah. And we went out to the Spiral Jetty. I took him out to the Spiral Jetty, and you don't have to know what that is. It's like a land art form thing.
No, yeah, the guy did all the rocks out there.
Yeah, it's pretty cool,
yeah.
actually, you know. But it's kind of near where I live, and we were kind of bored, you know, playing video games and stuff. And I said, "Hey, have you ever seen Spiral Jetty?" And he's like, "No, what's that?" And I said, Let's go for a drive." And so we went out there, and he said, he's like, "Hey, can we like climb to the top of that hill?" And I says, "Oh, you know what? I have like this huge rock climbing trip I'm going on tomorrow, and I really don't want to climb to the top of that hill. It's like I've got to do like some major hiking in the morning." And he was kind of let down a little bit. And I said, "Hey, you know, like, why don't you go, and I'll sit here and I'll watch you, you know?" And he's like, "Well, okay, I'll try it." And so he was kind of a little bit dejected, but excited that he got to go. And so he went walking up the trail, and then the further he got, I could tell, you know, he kept turning around and looking at me, you know, and I was just sitting there, you know, smoking a cigarette, sitting on a rock. And I could tell, like, I suddenly had that flashback of me in the house drinking and looking out the window at this little girl expecting me to, like, she needed me.
Right.
And I wasn't there. And he, you know, the further away he got and the more progress he made up the hill, like, you could tell he was getting kind of tired, because it was like a little, you know, it was like a real hill, you know.
Right.
And he kept turning around looking at me, and I'm like, Kevin, just get off your ass and get up there and go with him. And so finally I got up and I started walking after him, but which, you know, you could tell, like, you know, he was like, "Oh, here he comes," you know. Anyway, we didn't actually make it all the way to the top of the hill. He got too tired, and he came back down, and but it was just the fact that I learned something. I don't want to repeat that mistake.
Right.
You know? I want to be there for somebody, you know.
Well, it's, yeah, I totally get it. It's
it felt good to recognize it.
right.
That's what it was.
Well, it's, and
it
you're
felt good
doing,
to recognize it.
but you're changing too. You recognize, and you don't want that anymore, and you're making a positive change.
Yeah.
When we barely built our house, my wife, she left to go shopping, and I was here with at the time when we had our two boys, and we had no yard, no like fence, nothing, you know. And so it's kind of a construction yard area. And I remember I drank like way too much, and I had a rough day at work, and I was drinking on my way home, and and I just was like tired, and like the kids were like kind of playing whatever, and I passed out on my bed watching like TV, and I thought that they were in the other room playing. And my wife literally came home from where she was, and she's like, "Where's the kids?" And she woke me up, and I was like, "What?" Like, they're here. I just kind of dozed off, and she's like, then we ran at that point, because I mean, our child at that point was only like 2 and 4, and the back door was open, and we couldn't find the kids.
Oh my gosh.
Yeah.
Where were they?
We ran down the street, and like at that point, like I was like drunk and just thinking like, what, like just the what ifs. What if something hit by a car, like God forbid, like kidnapped, you just like every emotion just ran through my body, and I just thought, I'm never gonna be able to live with myself if something happened. And fortunately they were down the street at like 5 houses down, and one of our neighbors, and they had a tramp and like a little playground, and they were back there playing, and like the parents were like, where have you been? Like we've noticed your kids are here, but like where have you been? Like, we were gonna watch them, we knew who they were. And I just felt like sick.
Yeah.
Like sick. And I did not like that feeling. And I just kept thinking, like, why did I do that? This is not responsible. And I take that moment, because I'm happy that nothing did happen. And, and my wife was here, and I kind of put that in the back of my memory of just like how bad it can get.
Yeah.
And then like a few months later, kind of similar thing when I was up in Deer Valley. I was too sick to go play with the kids, and they were in the backyard, just kept playing and playing. And like there was another people that were up in Park City that were on a vacation, and like those dads were playing with my kids, and my wife was outside kind of watching it, and while I was drunk on the bed, and my wife really had no idea of how bad my situation was. And she's like, "Oh, he's just sick, he's not feeling very good, Dad's not feeling good."
Right.
And I'm like, knowing in the back of my head of how miserable I felt, and thinking those kids should be playing with me. Like, I'm the dad, I should be throwing the frisbee out there, not these 2 guys that are out there playing with them now.
Right.
And I'm just like, well, I'm a shitty person. Like, why am I doing this? So you take these bad stories, and then now this is a positive one. A couple of weeks ago, we were up at that same location again, and my sons, I'm watching them as they're on their bikes, and just I'm having a great time, great morning. We just got finished eating breakfast, and my one older boy, he stopped his bike in the middle of the sidewalk, kind of down this hill where these ponds are, and my younger son, he ripping down the sidewalk, and I could kind of see what was happening, and he's not very good at stopping. And I thought to myself, he's either going to slam into him, or he's going to veer off to the right into the rocks, or worst case scenario, he's going to make a hard left and fly off a 10-foot ledge into the pond.
Right.
And that's what he did. And I just, panicked, threw the phone out, threw my hat off, and just ran full sprint down there and jumped off the ledge into the pond, which was deep, and all I could see was his helmet, floating.
This was the pond up by Deer Valley?
Yeah.
Yeah, I know the pond you're talking about, I think.
Yeah. Right there at the cafe.
Uh-huh.
And I just like saved him, and he wasn't in the water very long, but he can't swim. But I'm like, I take that moment of thinking that is a very real possibility that could have happened if I was like drunk,
It could have gone a very different
and like
direction.
I could have not even been in the same location, and just like, oh, the kids were just riding their bike around the pond.
Right.
And like, I just am so grateful that my mind was there, very real situation, that like life or death thing.
Mm-hmm.
And I just like, and it was those smaller moments where I'm just like so happy of my decision, and my like change. And, not only one, am I present and actually being with my kids, but two, I'm aware of where they are, like falling off a 10-foot ledge into the pond.
Yeah, no kidding. Yeah, so I mean, when you think about it, those thoughts of, yeah, like maybe a beer would be okay, or they're fleeting, well, fleeting in comparison to what they were. It's just, how could we forget?
Right.
I guess that's part of the like insanity of it, really.
But it's also like just the mornings though. Like, and I have all these. I know that one of my gifts I've been given is a memory, and even with all the times I've been super drunk, I still remember those things that I did for the most part. Sometimes not. Sometimes very gray area.
Yeah, sure.
But
sure.
I at least can kind of like.
I remember them like years later, but not for a long time.
It's like putting a puzzle back together. But I do the same thing. I'm like, oh, a couple of beers wouldn't be that bad. It wouldn't be that big of a deal. But then like I know like where it would chase and go to and whatever. And my main thing is I'm all the mornings and the time that I wasted in the morning, like of trying to recover and like trying to just fight it through the weekend of like trying to feel okay, and just being like kind of a waste and like not being present and just nursing myself through it. And it's just like, it's a fucking horrible feeling where you just white knuckling it through the weekend and you're just like, why did I do that? Why did I do that? Well, don't you continually keep doing it. You're drinking again right now.
Right.
You're trying to fix it. And I don't know. I'm just happy I don't have to like play that game anymore.
Right.
But it is good to walk myself through that game at times, to thinking like, yeah, it wouldn't be that bad. And it's like, it's just a good coping mechanism for me, is to kind of just, play the movie through.
Sure.
And think like, where is this really going to go? Because I don't know. Now it's great. Like I love the mornings. The mornings are fun.
Yeah.
It's like nice to be able to wake up and take a shower and not like you're sitting there holding onto the wall just thinking, oh, I hate this.
Right. I've told people before that it used to be like my next drunk, I couldn't see into the future past it. It was like I was always looking into it or trying to see through it, because it was like obscure. It would obscure my view, literally. Like it was always on my mind. Every thought or every person that I was talking to, there was literally alcohol in between me and you, whether I was drinking or not at the moment. It was either the thought of drinking or it was drinking. It was in between every conversation I had, or every thought of the next day, or like even a few hours from now, I'm trying to make plans. It was like literally looking through a cataract that was alcohol.
But isn't like, if like alcohol, if you could call it something, and like the one word that I can think of is selfish.
Super.
Of just what it is. It's self-centered, self-consuming. Everything revolves around it. And I can't stand that mode where it's like, if I don't have this while I'm doing this, then it's not going to be fun.
Right.
Like that mindset to me is so mind-blowing, because I did it for so many years. It's like, how do I go boating, or how do I go camping, or how do I go skiing, or how do I do anything without having alcohol? And
It's kind of a gluttonous way of
Yeah.
thinking, really.
yeah, it's like when I spoke at the rehab center, one lady asked me, because she was like, wow, I didn't know that you're that outdoorsy. And she just, her main question that she said to me, and she goes, how do you do those activities now without alcohol? And I just like looked at her and I just laughed. And I said, I just enjoy doing the sport again.
Mm-hmm.
Like I try to find that joy in that whatever that brought me to even wanting to do it in the first place, because it wasn't alcohol. It wasn't like I was like, oh yeah, I started drinking a 12 pack and thinking, I want to go kayak a class 5 river. It was the opposite. It's like you get into these sports, you do stuff, and then at the times I thought I was drinking pretty politically correct to a point,
Mm-hmm.
and until I kind of blew it, and but I thought it was kind of interesting that she said that. She's like, how do you do those sports without alcohol? And it's kind of crazy.
Well, you didn't do them like right away, did you?
No, but
Like when you got out of rehab, like when did you like, kind of get back into life, so to speak?
so I actually had a pretty crazy.
I guess it's all life, but
Yeah. But I think you kind of mask all of that stuff that you really can do, because it's like I said, alcohol is selfish. It prevents you from becoming your best you.
for sure.
And
That's a good way to put it.
Yeah, that's how it felt for me. It was like I would play these mind games with myself, thinking like, oh, you know what? I want to go for a bike ride right now. I was like, nah, you can't, because you're hungover, your head hurts, you're tired, you don't have any willpower to do that.
Mm-hmm.
And so yeah, that's extremely selfish. So you can't do that. Third week I was in rehab. You were there.
I'm sure I was.
Yeah. But you guys took us to, we had an activity day where we went to a climbing gym.
You said that like it was a dream.
Yeah, no, I was like,
I think you were in
there.
that dream.
Damn it, you were there. You had to have been there. But I remember I was like, oh yeah, activity day. What are we going to go do? And they were like, yeah, we're going to go to a rock climbing gym. And I was like, a rock climbing gym? I was like, hell yeah. I remember climbing. And I was like, why haven't I been climbing? Like, what's... And I'm just like, oh yeah, well, alcohol kind of has been fucking myself over for the last years.
Mm-hmm.
But the crazy part is that, like, I've, with my memory, I have a very sense memory too.
Mm-hmm.
Like, when I smell things, it brings me back into, I can smell anything and it reminds me of something. Like, I smell like a burning tire at Jamaica. Like, I smell the perfume, it reminds me of a date or just anything. And I remember climbing at this climbing gym, and I smelt my hand after I was in a climbing hold.
Right.
And I was like way up on the thing, and like I closed my eyes, and I just a flood of memories of when I was climbing back in the day, like Joshua Tree down in southern Utah, and like all these different places. And it's like how I even proposed to my wife was rock climbing. And like I seriously got like emotional, where I started like crying. Like I was at this gym and I'm just like, my gosh, like, and it made me feel like there's hope. Like I can do these things again. I can, and why not try? Why not go do it? And have fun with it. And it felt really liberating to do that.
Right.
But it because I have so many good memories of climbing, and I just thought to myself, and ever since I've been out too, like I take my kids now all the time, and just enjoying it, because it's, I try to get, instead of dragging for the weekend now, it's like I look forward to like, what can we really squeeze into the weekend?
Mm-hmm.
Like how much shit can we do possibly over the weekend? Like,
I love that.
yeah,
I do the same thing.
yeah, it's like there's no limit.
Yeah, I had a friend text me actually just the other day, and he said, because we both climb.
Mm-hmm.
But so he said, "Hey, let's go to City of Rocks, and we can do one of these climbs." And he mentioned two different climbs, kind of big climbs. And he said, "So which one do you want to do?" And I was like, "Both. Like, let's do both. We can figure it out, you know." So it ended up raining.
Oh.
We couldn't go, but we did something. We did something. We did like a different one, like down here where it wasn't raining. It was so fun.
Yeah.
Oh my gosh, I had such a good time. Literally every time I'm up on a rock wall, climbing, I get such a sense of freedom from my addiction. Like I would so much rather be doing this
Yeah.
than that. That's when it feels the furthest away for me.
Yeah, and you feel like that accomplishment of it,
Yeah.
and then you feel that natural high of life, and I like I said when I was in that gym, like it just floored me. It absolutely floored me, thinking like just the concept of why am I not doing this? Why have I been preventing myself from doing the things that I want to do and I love?
Well, when you were talking about it being selfish and it keeps you from being the best man that you can be, it totally reminded me. There's Craig Ferguson. He's a talk show host.
Yeah.
Craig Ferguson, and he wrote a book, and he mentions he was addicted to alcohol, right? Like, and a multitude of other things. But he remembers literally the day that he decided that he really needed to get some help and to find treatment. He was sitting in a hotel room, and a Gillette commercial came on, and I don't know if they still use it, but remember it used to be the best a man can get,
Yeah.
you know. And he heard that jingle come on, the best a man can get, and he was laying on his bed, and he was out of alcohol and drugs, and he was just shaking and, pretty much going through like the whole tremor thing. And it said Gillette, the best a man can get, and he said to himself, "I'm so not the best a man can get." And it was like this eye-opening moment for him. And he literally like made the phone call like that day.
That's pretty funny. It's the small stuff though. Like I honestly, that was one of the more pivotal things that happened to me in rehab, and I thought, and it's still to this day, like I still think about it. It's just the smell of the chalk and the sweat on your hands, and it reminded me of like on the Teton, or like 6 a.m, climbing up to the very top, and I just am excited. Like when at that moment, I thought to myself, I want to do as much as I possibly can to be able to not only make myself happy with the things I love doing, but I have children.
Yeah.
And I want them, I love my dad. He was great, but he definitely wasn't more of the like rock climbing, camping, campfire dad. I never really had that. My older brother was more of a role model in that way with me. I was kind of his tag along, and he would, he needed a camping buddy or a bowling buddy, and I'd go with him. So I want to break that mold. Not saying that my dad did anything wrong, but I want to be able to give my children every opportunity they can to try something. If they like it or not, give them a try, and kind of almost live through them, but not push them to the point where they hate it. But just like, let's go do this. And it feels so great doing it. Like I get so happy watching my kids do, like, climbing all the way up to the top. Now I remember the first time I took them, they just kind of were kind of afraid of it. They've been doing it for over a year now, and they're 5 and 4. And the last time I went to the climbing gym, there was like 15 people that were stopped, and they were just watching them go all the way to the top. And then when they were all the way to the top, I was, yelling at them. I was like, "Hey, reach up here and hit the bar." and they're like reaching one arm down, almost like getting cocky now. Just like, what'd you say, Dad? You want me to grab what?
Right.
And it's just funny. Kids are great. I'm definitely learning a lot through them, and I don't know, man. It feels pretty good to, be able to actually just deal with life and not just sit there.
Yeah, and
cover it up.
When I was telling you that we were going to go to City of Rocks, and we had the whole day planned there, like to get there super early in the morning and climb all day long until it got dark, and then it rained. And I even thought about this when I looked at the weather and it was going to rain, and you can't be on rocks when it's raining.
Yeah.
And normally I think something like that would have like pissed me off. I mean, like, I would have been pissed, like,
right,
about rain, like, and I looked at the weather and it was like we couldn't go, and I was like, well, that's something I can't control. It's okay.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? I wasn't even mad.
Mm-hmm.
I was just like, well, what else can we do? So, I mean, I was disappointed, but I wasn't like, but I literally cognitively thought, wow, like, I'm not super upset about it. It's like literally something I can't control. I'm not going to waste the energy.
You're like, yeah, it's
being all dejected by the weather.
Right.
That's nice to be able to do too.
Yeah.
Just kind of accept it.
And not
do
just
something different.
Not just drink, like quote unquote drink about it.
Right, exactly.
Let's go drink about it.
Mm.
I don't know. I just it's hard though. Like, I definitely have my moments where I struggle, and the nice thing is I know I need to communicate and like just get it out and talk to people and talk to my wife, and
it's so important.
Yeah.
Mm.
Even though sometimes I have this like, I gotta be this man, or I gotta have this misconception of how I need to be.
Mm-hmm.
And I'm just like, no, like, what you need to do. Just, you need to go get it out and just deal with it. You know, we all know ourselves better than obviously anybody else does. And I don't know. I suck at it at times. I can tell. My wife's just like, are you all right? I'm just like, no. Can you tell?
Yeah, I go through that too.
Mm-hmm.
Where I think, man, I should be over this by now.
Right.
I should be over this by now. I don't want to talk about it because I'm going to look stupid, like, or whoever's there that I'm going to talk to about it will be disappointed that I'm not past this or whatever is going on. Yeah, communication is so key. Like, I think that's just accepting where you are at the moment that you're in it.
Right.
Like, talk about it. There is no such thing as I need to be past it. Well, is there like a learning curve?
Right.
Where am I at on this scale right now? Like, am I at like a late bloomer, kind of a thing? It's just wherever you're at the moment.
Yeah.
And like, I've learned that because I get long-term sobriety out of being okay with where I'm at right now.
Yeah.
And not worrying about if someone else is okay about it. Just talk about it. That's what meetings are for. Is just basically to go talk about.
Just getting off your chest, right?
Mm-hmm.
And it's I think it.
But if you're not a meeting goer, talking to whoever you love or whoever you trust is just as effective. I would say.
Well, if you have your common circle of people, and it's hard. It's hard at times. I try to do it sometimes with my dad, who's my boss too, and I start to vent about something, and a lot of times he's such a quick person to have an answer.
Mm-hmm.
He's always like a very good smoother over person. Like, oh, don't get all wrapped up in this or something. I'm just like, I'm not, but I'm just explaining to you how I'm feeling. This is new to me.
Mm-hmm.
It's us men are so like Neanderthal.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
So bad sometimes.
I know exactly what you mean.
So Well, I think we're about out of time. Looks like we've been talking for about an hour almost.
So, like, just to kind of like sum it up, has it been worth it this far?
Yeah, I think so. I think if everyone's listening, we've got some. Now that we've kind of know how we're going to be doing this a little bit.
Yeah.
And we've got some good guests that are coming on pretty soon. And hopefully this one made sense tonight. We just wanted to kind of catch up a little bit. And
I meant like the sobriety trip has been worth it so far.
I thought you were talking about just actual podcast for tonight.
Yeah, it's kind of different without Zach, huh?
It is. It's different, but it's nice to catch up and just like be real.
Mm-hmm.
You know, I feel like that's what we did tonight. But as of my journey, is it worth it? Oh yeah.
Mine too.
It's kind of like, you know, those, I don't know what you call them, where you do those double circles and one overlaps on the other, and like you do the pros and the cons.
Oh, yeah. Mm-hmm.
I don't know. There's a word for it.
Right.
But, I was like chatting with my wife the other night about it, and I was like kind of the pros and the cons and kind of in between of everything. But like, there's so much that outweighs on the positivity side of it.
Yeah.
It's like I'm present. And the biggest thing that I've noticed with my wife, what I talked about, is how much good that I can recognize in myself this last year than I have in probably 5 years combined.
Mm-hmm.
Of like just the stuff I've done. Like I got the mindset, I'm working hard, like our business right now is as busy as it's ever been. And it's like all that good shit follows you.
Mm-hmm.
And I really do believe that. Like you do good happens back, and
I think it's a little bit of the law of attraction too.
I think so.
Don't you think?
Yeah. I mean, why would somebody want to hang out with you if you're super hungover all the time versus someone who's just like, where are we going?
Right. Exactly. You know, but depending on your state of mind at the moment, it's not always obvious.
No.
It's not. Like anybody that tells you like, oh yeah, like sobriety's easier and everything's like happier and better and stuff like that. It all depends on your state of the moment, state of mind at the time. Like sometimes it's just like hard to see,
Right?
especially in newer sobriety.
Right. Like
what am I doing this for again?
I had a really close friend that's he says he hasn't drank for 60 days and hung out with him over the weekend, and he just was like, he brought it to me. I wasn't asking him. And he was just like, man, you know, I just like, I feel like a lot of stuff's not going right. I'm wasting time. I'm not present. I'm not doing anything. And I said, but in the last 60 days, like, what are some of your benefits that you've seen? And he just is like, a lot. He's like, I've just the small stuff. And I think us humans, we want this instant gratification. Mm-hmm. Like I said earlier, we're all that way. We want something, we want it now, we want this perfect image of whatever. And if you can really slow it down into like just the smallest little stuff, like I woke up early and I had breakfast with my child that I would have normally missed. And like that, you just take that one small goodness thing, that good thing that happened to you, and you just push on from that. Mm-hmm. And it just becomes bigger, you know. One breakfast turns into, you feel like your day is better, you feel like you're going to bed earlier, you feel like you're getting a better sleep pattern, you're getting, work is going better, you know. Mm-hmm. It just spirals into it. And it's hard though, like you said at the beginning, to recognize the small things, but when you do, you really notice how many good things are actually there.
Oh yeah, they build up and they coalesce into larger things. I remember sometimes thinking, well, I don't know exactly what's better. This is like early on. I don't know exactly what's better, but what I can say that I've achieved is that I haven't drank for 15 days.
Yeah.
That's something. You know, right. It's not like my credit improved over 15 days or, you know, like suddenly like my relationship with my children was better after 15 days because, you know, I was kind of a bitchy, complainy, whiny, cryy person actually for a while. But like sometimes that was like all I had to look at is, wow, I haven't drank for 27 days.
Right.
Oh my God, but yeah, my question hasn't been worth it this far. Yeah, hell yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. It's going good for me.
That's good.
Yeah.
Well, we have plenty more to talk about soon. Hopefully, we're going to try to figure this out with Zach and have him add on.
I'm excited.
Yeah, I am too.
Yeah.
I feel like this next little phase, we're going to really push this podcast. It's time to, spread the positivity and the love, and we have some ideas.
I was going to be
I was
super
going to share
resentful
some
if
ideas, but not yet.
I was going to be super resentful if he went to go see Stonehenge without me. But I think one way to forgive him, Zach, is if you did the podcast from Stonehenge
There you go.
while we were talking to you.
That'd be cool.
Yeah, like maybe you'd like see aliens or something like.
He sets up the geometric
Yeah,
star line alignment of however those guys did that in the first place.
sends a signal. Okay.
Alrighty, we'll chat soon and keep our Instagram, by the way, is climbing.
Yeah.
Yeah, got some more people on there, and so
Good. Right in. Tell
Yeah.
us what to talk about. Tell us what you have to say.
so you guys have a good night. It's very late for us,
Yep.
so peace out.
Peace.